Hi, this is Mr. Ng going over Math 5, quiz number 13, 5-1 to 5-3, taken February 16, 2018. This quiz was out of 36 points. Quick directions, make sure to show all your work and box your answers. Question number 1, multiple choice, graph the function. F of x equals quantity x plus 2 cubed, x minus 3 squared. So you have these two functions here, and then basically you take what's in the parentheses and you set it equal to 0, 0 product rule. Subtract 2, x is equal to negative 2, and that shows here and there. X minus 3, solve it, x equals 3, and you have one there. So what's the difference between the two graphs? It's their multiplicity. Multiplicity refers to the number or exponent above the parentheses ones in factored form. It's factored. So here 3 is an odd you do st, shoot through. 2 is even, you kiss. So here's an example of kissing, and here's an example of shooting through. But I don't want shoot through at 3. I want to kiss. So the answer is B. Shooting through there at negative 2, and comes back down at a kiss or bouncing off of x equals 3. Notice here you have an odd, so this comes x to the third times x to the second is x to the fifth, starts down, ends up, just like a x to the first linear equation. Let's take a look at some student work. Here's an example of some student work where it's kind of hard to see, but you're seeing x equals negative 2, x equals positive 3, and then they're squaring their multiplicity, and then they're showing their heart. It's an odd shoot through and then even kiss. Question number 2, which graph matches the function? So I have f of x equals 2x to the 6th minus 3x squared minus 2. Written descending order, x to the 6th, x to the second, x to the 0. So I'm just looking at the exponents for descending order. And then the highest degree there is a 6. 6 is even. It's an even number, right? Divisible by 2, no remainder. So I have an even degree polynomial here, and it's just like x squared, so it's going to start up, end up. Again, these would point down, both down, if there was a negative to show reflection over the x-axis. My a value is positive, so I need one that starts up, ends up. Not this one, so that would be A. The correct answer is B. Here, this one shows a negative even degree polynomial. This one also shows an even degree, so this one looks like a negative x squared because it looks quadratic. This one looks like to the 4th power. This one looks like a x to the 3rd positive, but shifted up, maybe like right half and then up. Correct answer is B. Number 3, multiple choice. Identify the local maximum and local minimum coordinates of the function. Remember, a local just means based on the snapshot. What can we see? Here is the max. Here's the minimum. You don't really need this function. It is helpful. We know it's cubic and has to be a leading coefficient of negative. So that's called the leading 0 test. That's a negative. Positive 2 right there as my y-intercept, because you put in 0 and 0, and then you're left with 2. So here I have a local minimum. That's the order pair x. Values are 0, and then y values 2. And then local maximum right 4, up 4. And that'll be choice C. Question D, determine algebraically whether the function is even, odd, or neither. I think this was the most missed multiple choice question. I have the function f of x equals negative 3x to the 4th minus x squared. Algebraically just basically means you put in every x value, you're going to put in negative x. Negative x, negative x. Negative x to the 4th power is going to be negative x, positive, positive. So that would become positive x to the 4th. And positive x to the 4th times negative 3 is just negative 3x to the 4th. Here, this is going to become x squared, and the opposite of x squared is just negative x squared. And you'll notice that this is the original problem. If it's the original problem, it is even. If it is the opposite of the original problem, and you factor out a negative 1, that'll be odd. And then if it's a little bit off, it's not the opposite, it's not exactly the same, that'll be neither. 2 points apiece. And then question number 5, if you're using y equals x cubed, so there's a cubic function, parent function, as a reference graph, describe how you would just graph y equals x plus 3 cubed minus 4. First thing I do is I'm going to change that plus sign. I do have a silly phrase, add to x, so there's adding to x, go west, so this means you're going west, which means adding or moving to the left 3 units. Now, if you want to see the polynomial in standard, or with the letters a, b, c, and d, a value is outside here in the parentheses, nothing, that's a 1. B value in front of the x, there's no number there, so here. Now the c value, it has to say the opposite, so it says x minus c. So x minus c, that means my c value is actually negative 3, which means you're going left 3. And down 4, that would be letter choice A. So in this problem, so 12 points for the front side, 1 point for first, last name nice, circled. Let's go to the back side. Identify whether the polynomial function graph has a odd or even degree and a positive or negative leading coefficient. Okay, so a degree is the same synonym or word as exponent. So that's that small number to the top right of the letter. So, for example, this would be a odd degree. So this one is just like a linear odd, negative leading coefficient, starts up, ends down. So we have a negative leading coefficient, that would be b, and it's also odd because, like, again, linear starts just like a straight line this way. So your answer is b. For number 7, you need to multiply. This is a free response, so this is worth 4 points. So I have a binomial. Bi means 2, 1, 2, and this is a trinomial, 1, 2, 3. You are multiplying. So you can either use FOIL. You can use a distributive property, like 5x to each of these terms, and then negative 3 to each of these terms, and then combine like terms, or we've been using this box in class. So bi means 2 boxes this way, trinomial, 3 boxes this way. We're going to multiply, and then we're going to add 5x times x squared is 5x to the third. 5x times negative 5x is negative 25x squared. 5x times 2 is 10x. X squared times negative 3 is negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times negative 5x is positive 15x, and negative 3 times a positive 2 is negative 6. Then we can just combine like terms, so 5x to the third. These two are like terms. That'll give you negative 28x squared. Add those two together, you get 25x, and then here minus 6. If you got one of these wrong, you got 3 points. If you got everything in the box, but this was wrong, you got 3 points. Something right gave you 2 points, 1 point for trying. Let's look at some student work. Some student work. All of this box is actually incorrect, but here I think they made like 15 minus 10. That's incorrect, so I circled it, gave them partial credit. So here, this one's a little bit hard to see, but they have x squared, so I just think they just wrote the x squareds, and then they only multiplied 5x, and a negative 5x gives them negative 25x, and then negative 3 times a positive 2 gives them a negative 6. So I gave this student 2 points because negative 6 is correct. But 2 times 3 means 6. You need 6 terms, and then you combine them. Some student work. This looks excellent, showing the box, combine like terms, and box their answer. Correct. Alright, so question number 8 says, transform the given function f of x as described and write the resulting function as an equation. So we're going to transform it, and then we're going to write a function as an equation. So transform it, write an equation. Parent function f of x equals x to the third, so this is a cubic function. It first tells us it wants to compress vertically by a factor of 3. This is your a value. And because it says the word compress, that means it has to be a number less than 1. So that would be 1/3. 1/3 represents this one right here. Reflected across the x-axis, that would be the negative sign outside the parentheses, so part of the a value there. Number 3, translate right 2 units. So there it is. This is your 2. This is your c value. Remember, in the equation or formula, it does have x minus. So as you read it, x minus 2 is correct. Maybe it's the opposite of what you'd see there. It is to the power of 3. Or I would have actually accepted if you wrote something like f and then parentheses x minus 2 and then nothing there. Then it says translate down 3 units. That is your d value, so minus 3 out here. Graph the parent function in extra credit. Graph the parent function in solid. So there is mine, right? We did that. 0, 0. Plug in 1 for your x value. 1 cube is 1. 2 cube is 8. And then it says graph the parent function in solid. So there's my solid and a new function and a dotted line. Should have drawn the dotted line there. How did I get that new one? If you did, not many students got the extra credit. You basically take our values here, my x values, and what I do is you can create a rule. You take your a value and your d value, that affects the y coordinates because it's the vertical. And then your x values are affected by the c here. So you're going right 2, so that would be a +2 on your values. So I can take this rule and now apply it to here. So all my x values, I'm just going to add 2, and I get 2, 3, 4. And then I take all of these y values, and I get -1/3 times y minus 3. So when I do that, I get these values. And if you needed some more values like I showed you here, 0, 1, and 2, I get these coordinates. When you graph it, your new cubic transformed function looks like that. Number 9, identify the leading coefficient, degree, and end behavior of the function p of x equals -5x⁴ minus 6x squared plus 6. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the degree. The degree is the highest number, highest degree or exponent. So that would be a 4. So my degree is 4. Therefore, I can eliminate choices B and D. It's a little bit hard to see, but A is the correct answer. The leading coefficient is just your A value. And that's just the number in front and written in descending order. So that would be the -5 there. Now, the reason why it is A and not C, the only difference between these two is the end behavior. Well, the end behavior has the sentence as x approaches positive infinity, so you're going towards the right, okay, it's going up, so that would be a positive infinity, but this has a negative, so I have to flip it. So this is an even degree function. Flip it, so it's now starting down, ends down. So as you're going right, essentially that's what that sentence says, it's pointing down. And as you go left, it's going down as well. So if you want to match those up, this one is showing your x values, then your function is pointing down. And then as you go towards the right, its function is also pointing down. Your choice is A. So again, what you need to do is recognize this is even. Draw yourself an even-looking degree function so it looks just like a parabola. And starting that end down, and then flip it. That's why I have it there in blue. The student doesn't have any work, multiple choice on the checking, but they should have at least a picture that might help them. So no picture, got it correct. Student got this problem wrong, got no picture. Alright, this student here drew a picture, they were wrong, but there's a couple of things that are good with it. They recognize a y-intercept of 6. They wrote between 5 and 6. I don't know if that's actually accurate if it was the x-intercepts, but they also show an even degree, but they didn't understand the negative leading coefficient. So at least the picture kind of helped them a little bit. Number 10, describe the transformation necessary to transform graph f of x, so it tells you this solid line, to the g of x. So I need to be shifted 3 units, 1, 2, 3. So you can see by the moving of the vertex. And then it's also reflected over the x-axis. So I give you 4 points if these are both correct. I gave you 3 points, kind of hard for me to see. Let's see. 3 points if you got 1 correct and then 1 partial correct. So a good example of that, you might have said, right, 3 units. At least you knew it was 3 units. Gave you 3. And then 2 points if you just had 1 correct, like you just wrote the word reflect over the x-axis and then you said jump over a river. That would have been incorrect. So I give you partial credit for that one. Here's an example of partial credit. This is correct, but didn't show the reflection. Number 11, describe the transformations necessary to transform the graph of f of x into that of g of x. So here's the parent function, square root of x, and then you have g of x. If you recognize the a values on the outside, so a value of -3, the negative tells me it reflects over the x-axis. A 3 tells me it's a vertical stretch of a factor of 3. And then this -1 here is outside of the radical, so outside the parentheses, all your d values shifted down 1 unit. 4 points for all, 3 points for 2. Correct, and 2 points for just 1 correct. This problem gave partial credit 3 points. If they would have shown stretch vertically by a factor of 3, it's not 1/3. And the last problem here, I just wanted to show you guys the freebies. There's a 1, there's a 4, and then you have to use the numbers 1 to 4 to complete the ken-ken. That's I was out of 24 points. I hope this was helpful for you.